Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dato' Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Rector of the International Islamic University Malaysia, Datin Nur Razak Omar, Under Secretary, International Relations Division, the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, Professor Dr. Ahmad Faris Ismail, Co-Chair of the UNESCO Chair in Future Studies, Anticipation for Sustainability and Wellbeing, and Deputy Rector, Academic and Internationalization, International Islamic University Malaysia, Professor Dr. Sohail Inayatullah, UNESCO Chair in Future Studies, Anticipation for Sustainability and Wellbeing, and Dr. Muhammad Sharif Akbar, Director Advisor, Science and Technology, ISESCO, Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, ISESCO, Professor Odeh Rashid Al-Jayusi, ISESCO Chair, International Islamic University Malaysia, Senator Pierre Cayetano, Member of the Philippine Senate 19th Congress and Chair of the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking, Dr. Haji Maliki Muhammad Rafi'i, Director, International Youth Center, Mr. Joss Wagner, Managing Director, The Change Initiative and APFN Chief Navigator. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, good morning and selamat pagi. Oh, there was a long salutation. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, let us open our session with recitation of Al-Fatiha. Ladies and gentlemen, the 9th Asia Pacific Futures Network Conference, APFN9, is hosted in Malaysia for the first time this year, reckoning local wisdom and regional approaches in promoting academia, industry, government, society, cooperation to inspire innovative breakthroughs towards positive futures of sustainability and well-being. This year's conference seeks to actively nurture discourses on the aspects to probe into the futures with the complex nuances of the following thematic areas: bridging the gaps among academia, industry, and society for sustainable futures, civilizations, technologies, and the futures of societies, co-creation of peaceful, well-being, and inclusive societies, primordial and artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, the 9th Asia Pacific Futures Network Conference is organized by Asia Pacific Futures Network, APFN, co-hosted by International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, as the UNESCO Chair in Future Studies, and Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, ISESCO. Also, the conference sponsors are the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, MOHI, and the Jamalullah Chair, IIUM. Let's give a round of applause to the organizer, hosts, and sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome the Managing Director of the Change Initiative and APFN Chief Navigator, Mr. Joss Wagner, and the Director for Strategy, Performance and Learning at the Pacific Community, SPC, and member of the APFM Steering Committee, Ms. Emily Sharp, to deliver their welcoming remarks.
Selamat pagi, selamat datang di Kuala Lumpur. Nama saya we are Malaysia. Showing off I tried to learn Malay when I was young. So good morning, everybody. Emily and we have the pleasure to welcome you all. Actually, I got a long list of names, and I don't want to compete with our capable MC here to mention them all again. Dear colleagues, dear friends, dear dignitaries, welcome to our 9th APFN. And we are very delighted that it's actually happening here in Kuala Lumpur. If you have been to previous APFN, or if you have read the history, we started with 2 in Tamkang, Taipei. Then we had 1 in Seoul, and we have one of the organizers here. Then the 4th and 5th one were in Bangkok, Thailand. Then we all know what happened. COVID came, and we had 3 APFN online, 1 hosted by our colleagues from the Philippines, then one from the Thai team again, and then the last one was a joint community stretching from one city hosting one day, a 6-day event, including one day hosted by the Pacific community. So now here we are, this is the 9th one, and I think we're gonna finish with hopefully finding a victim to host the 10th APFN at the end of the conference, because it's a lot of work. And I want to mention one more time all the organizations that are actually contributing to this event. But first of all, please give a hand one more time to the university here who is taking the lead. I know for a fact they will probably be the most happy persons on Tuesday evening, because anybody who has organized a conference knows how much work that is. So this conference is supported by the Ministry of Higher Education, the UNESCO Chair in Future Studies, by IRUM ISESCO Chair in Sustainable Engineering, in the Sama Lulail Chair, by our friends from MITE, the Malaysian Industry Government Group of High Tech, by an organization I think I'm owning, then Meta Future, then Tamkang University, who was very instrumental in founding this network, the SBC Pacific community, and a big thank you also to the International Youth Center, IYC, and many of you who are not mentioned who have also contributed to make this APF9 a reality. Please give a big hand one more time. So I don't want to say very much because we have a tight program, but just 2 sentences about the spirit of APFN. It's a kind of super hybrid. So we have people, who of you is actually an academic, by definition, academic? Who of you is rather someone, you are more a foresight practitioner, like someone who's using foresight methods in your workshops? You can raise your hand several times. Yeah. Who is a government official and you were asked to come here? Government officials? In facilitation, we have different categories of types of participants in the conference. There is one category I call the prisoner. The prisoner is the person who was going to a conference although he didn't want to go. Then we have the vacationers. The vacationers are the people who are actually saying, Kuala Lumpur, I always wanted to go. I know some people said, wow, great, I've never been to Kuala Lumpur, but they're not really so interested in the conference. But maybe meet some friends, you know, have some nice food, Malaysian food. Then we have the people who are the shoppers, not the ones who go to the mall, but the people who say, oh, Professor Suhail is giving a lecture, I have to be there. They're looking very specific. And then we have the explorers. The explorers are the people who want to be here, they want to learn, they want to share. So if you are a prisoner, we make you explorer until in the next 2 days, don't worry. Okay, you're really happy to be here. Okay, so the next sentence, very short, and then I hand over actually. I just want to say it's about learning and sharing, making friends. Many of us have been to an APFN conference, and we don't have a clear definition what an APFN conference is. Sometimes it's slightly more academic, sometimes it's more practical, and if you look at the menu, the program, there are many different things. Yeah, we have practical workshops, we have inputs, we have presentation of research, so wherever your energy takes you, you can later also choose different sessions that are going on in parallel, okay? So, but foremost is to have all this informal conversation, so you can approach everybody, meet friends, and hopefully when you leave here, even you are not yet a foresight practitioner or futurist, you definitely want to continue on the journey. And APFN conferences have been very, very instrumental to bring everybody on this road to foresight. And if you have looked, for example, 2 days ago, the UN 2.0 conference took place. If you look at the 5 pillars, it's a conference led by Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN. One of the 5 pillars is foresight. So you are at the right place, I hope. So with these words, I just wanted to remind you we have an open space. So if you feel like there is a topic missing, you actually have a chance in the last session of the afternoon to actually set the topic and have this important conversation you are missing in the menu, okay? So, but you heard APFN, Asia Pacific Futures Network. And in the last years, we paid a lot of attention to, and more attention to the Pacific, because we have a long name. So we are very, very happy that our strongest partner and our best friends in the network is the SBC Pacific community. We have now a visionary board and we have a steering committee in the APFN. And I have the pleasure to introduce again Emily Sharp, our member and representative of the Pacific community on the APFN steering committee. Emily, the floor is yours.
Bulavanaka, bonjour, salamat pagi, all protocols reserved. It truly is very humbling to be standing here, bringing the Pacific voice to the Asia Pacific Futures Network, and to be able to come and explore in the amazing Malaysia. But also to be standing with our amazing master navigator, Jost Wagner. And as part of our Pacific heritage and our custom, I would like to give Jost a traditional Fijian drum. It's a very small version. I couldn't bring the real one in my suitcase. Called the lali. And the lali is beaten to signify the commencements of important dialogue, to signify the commencements of important events, and also when decisions are made. We might do a demonstration later on, but Jost, this is so that you can keep our beat of the APFN beating in unison over the next couple of days.
As we are on live TV, I will remove your mic and please do some capacity building for all of us. So I think this opens the conference, and without further ado.
Sorry, I do just want to share a few more words, because I think what inspired me, Jost, is to really recognize that Asia Pacific is a connected region. It's not Asia and the Pacific. We are Asia and the Pacific. We're close to 4 billion people altogether. So very humbly, the delegation that's come from the Pacific is here to learn and to listen and to share. But most importantly, I think together, we can envision futures that we can't when we're alone. Together, we can create futures that are more inclusive and more intentional than when we are alone. So we are here to work together with you around our shared belongingness, the shared oceans, our shared resources, and our shared commitment to sustainability and well-being. So thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the conference. And I hand over to Mr. Arashi, who is our capable MC. In my life, I have two jobs. I'm a facilitator and a futurist. So for me, it will be very strange to watch someone else doing my job. So I better remove the stage before I do something wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner and Ms. Sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the distinct honor of inviting Professor Emeritus Tan Sri Dato' Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Director of the International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, to deliver his keynote speech. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Greeting of peace and a very good morning. Josh, Emily, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Let me first of all register my delight that you are here in APFN, and particularly with the representative of the Pacific. So often when we talk about Asia Pacific, Pacific becomes just a token. It's more Asian than Pacific. I'm glad that you come here and you bring your drum also with you. Symbolizing that we are working as a region together, and certainly this university, being an international university, welcome all of you, and we hope we can work together in trying to shape the future. I've been given a 13 minutes quote-unquote a keynote address. I wonder whether it's a keynote, but I will try to bring our perspective into what we are going to talk about today as far as university is concerned. I somehow rather, Josh, whether I'm right or wrong, I've got the wrong one, the 9, and it says remedies of the future. It's 8 rather than 9. So I'm not into the future really. I'm just one year back. in any case, I've drafted my presentation as a pharmacist, as a pharmacologist, rather than a futurist. And therefore, when I see this word remedy, it strikes very quickly. What is it that I can do as a medicine seller, a pharmacist and a pharmacologist, to give the future a right in the context of the kind of medicine and prescription? The university has been working on a number of issues, and one of the issues is actually to reconstruct what education is all about. We talk about education the way it is today, but I don't think we are talking about education anymore. We are talking about anything but education, because the construct is quite different, particularly when the pandemic comes in. And this is what I want to introduce to you what would be the remedy for the future. And the future for us is to move from where we were to where we are going to be, at least from our perspective. And we are talking about the kind of the natural ingredient, in other words, what it is in our context, what it is in our culture, what is in our norms, that we do not have to really import because it's already there, but we have ignored it for a long time until the pandemics come back and we see what is it that can be applicable to us, because everything else is not accessible. We need to go back to what we've got and how to work it up. And I think this is one of the formula that our university has been working on. One of the achievements, and I think Zainal will talk about it a little bit later, is how to reconceptualize education from just reading, writing, and talking about it, to making it work. And therefore, we changed the word from education to edu-action. How do you actually realize it in real life of what is it that you have been talking about, to make it real, to make it happen, to have an impact and benefit to the society at large. Yeah? So that is the first dimension that we want to talk about. How do you bring action into education out of the classroom? The classroom is no longer quote-unquote relevant. It is an invention of the Industrial Revolution anyway. People had been doing education long before that without a classroom. How can we leave one education without a classroom per se, right? And from then on, it follows many things that we have been asking. One is about this publish and perish. If you are in a university, either you publish, otherwise you're gone. Now we say, yes, it's okay, but we also need to do or die. In other words, after publishing, after writing, what is it that you do? How do you translate it into work that other people will benefit? We know that when we publish, less than probably 1,000 people read your paper, right? But how do you then translate it and make other people benefit? You have got an impact factor of 10. That's a jargon that we use. What is the impact on the ground? If there's no impact on the ground, your impact factor of 10 is still not what we are dreaming for, right? And therefore, we measure not only the tangible, we also measure the intangible, the emotional part, the spiritual part, the ethical part, the moral part, which have all been missing when we come to the pandemic. People are not able to cope emotionally, spiritual, and therefore suicide rate is up. What you call depression, anxiety, the whole phenomena of mental health come into being that we have ignored for a long time. We know it was there, but because we can't measure it, we just say it is not important. Now, how do you go back to find out where the intangibles are and how we can put it in place as far as the real impact is concerned? And I guess that's one of the work that we do. We don't talk about human capital, we talk about being human. In other words, not any parts, but the total parts of the human being. How do you make it work? How do you connect to make the human being a real human being first before they become an engineer or a doctor or a politician or fisheries? You need to be the first human being that can connect with other human beings, and therefore humanity becomes a word rather than a group of people, a country or a society or an administration. How do you connect this together, right? And moving away from just the technocentric, which has been dominating with the ChatGPT, AI, and so on, so which is important, but what about human touch? What about high touch rather than high tech? To be human-centric, that what connects us all here today is you are being human. Doesn't matter where you come from. How do you go back to that very basic and connect each other as far as the future is concerned? And therefore, we talk about values and just value, right? And understanding that we are not digital native. I'm not digital native for sure, but I'm a spiritual native. We are born with that spirituality, and how do you make this spirituality a glue that connects all of us no matter where we are? Yeah, Pacific Ocean, regardless where you are, we need to connect with one another, given the IT, or even beyond the IT if you talk about spirituality. And therefore, we talk about just moving just from the normal conventional IQ into EQ, into SQ, and whatever other Qs that will come, motivational quotient, and so on and so forth. That's not been dropped in as far as the human centricity is concerned. And this is the formula that we want to put in as far as moving ahead into the future on education, at least at my university. And therefore, we want to pack this into a kind of a medicinal product, and we call it Sejahtera. Sejahtera is the word that actually encompasses so many things that we talked about. I just been back from Korea, and Korea we are talking about Sejahtera as a concept. Korea has not got a Sejahtera center that takes this and embellish it into their own education system. If the Korean can do it, I think the Malaysian should be able to do it at the same time. After all, Sejahtera is originally a Malaysian or original words that everybody can share. So we want to pact it and make it happen so that it becomes a global sort of, it's not working. Yeah, a global sort of medicine that we can share with one another with all its natural ingredients, meaning to say that we are relevant locally in its own context. I've been to the Pacific, I've worked there, and I think the context of the Pacific is very much more vast than the one we see in Malaysia alone. How do you bring this in context together and make it work as far as humanity is concerned? So moving forward, my idea as far as the prescription for the future will be then to talk about education in the context that we talked about, but more to shift the emphasis, not just about livelihood, but about life. Education, when I say is relevant, because all of us want education because we want a good job. We want a flush sort of life. We want to be successful materially. Nothing wrong with that. But when the pandemic comes, livelihood is not there anymore. We are talking about life. How many thousands of people died? Millions of them. They are all well educated, but they suffer the same disease. They need to die because they are not prepared to deal with life. And therefore, the shift now is from livelihood to life. And when you talk about life, it's already been there in many of our cultures. The Japanese has the word for it, kizuna. Right? Africans have the word ubuntu. And we have got many other words. Swedish have got the word lagom. All right? The Chinese have the yin and yang. And for us, our word is sejahtera. These are the heritage that human being has got that we need to connect. If we can connect all these magic words at our own context, we have got a platform made. We don't have to reinvent another thing. We need to recognize what we have got but forgotten somehow or other. Technologically, industrially, we find that it's not relevant, and bring it back. And therefore, to have all these other ingredients I was talking about in terms of do or die, the intangible, being human, being holistic, being human-centric, working on the heart rather than just the mind or the brain, be spiritually active and also value-driven. This will be then the movement for the future where sejahtera becomes the key word as far as. So, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and a greeting of.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great respect that we introduce Dr. Muhammad Sharif, the Director/Advisor for Science and Technology at the Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, ISESCO. Dr. Sharif Akbar will now deliver his keynote speech. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Is it working? Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. So it's my first time in Malaysia. So I am really impressed by your talk here. So I to now put myself where I am. Am I a prisoner or explorer here? You know? Yeah. Maybe by the end of the day or until tomorrow, I will find out and then I will let you know. I mean, you have given me the options to be the vocationalist, to be the explorer, shopper, to listen to Professor Sohail's the talk. And secondly, again, it is for me it's surprising that when I see the rector of the university, he's coming on the stage and giving the keynote speech and in the presentation, I was thinking that like he will come and then will deliver a formal the speech, yeah. But he's like it's a leadership, yeah. It is like from the front, yeah. But I decided, I just sent a message to Khalila that I would also from my school because I have the speech. And thank you very much for having us with you at this really the wonderful conference, I would say. You said that you started from something like that. And now it's the 9th Asia Pacific, the Futures Conference. I would say that you said after 2 days, tomorrow the people will be happy with the success. Trust me, it is already success. You have such a high, the caliber speakers lined up to speak about this conference. So I would say from, I would start formally my speech on behalf of ISISCO, Islamic World Educational and Scientific and Cultural Organization. We are based in Morocco. I would give you at the end a couple of slides. It is really honor and welcome you to the gathering where we come together to explore the virtual theme, to the vital theme of the bridging academia, industry, and society towards the sustainability and well-being. It is a topic actually we decided, or we were talking about like last 2 years with Professor Faris, that we wanted to bring something that the topic which should be really taken by our audience. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to stand before you today to speak at this very timely conference, which promises to be a catalyst for transformative change. At ISISCO, which represents 54 member countries, we are very much cognizant of the importance of academia, industry, society relationship for sustainable development of the world. We are working diligently to create awareness and build capacities for all our stakeholders in academia, industry, and government to develop a workforce for tomorrow and to create equal economic opportunities for all the impoverished nations around our member countries and beyond. In an era marked by unprecedented challenges, our pursuit of sustainability and well-being has never been more urgent. Climate change, resource depletion, social inequality, and global pandemic have laid bare the vulnerabilities of our interconnected world. The stakes are high, and the need for meaningful collaboration between academia, industry, and society. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered today here recognition that no single entity, whether it's academia, industry, or society, alone can address these domains and work together harmoniously to bring about a couple of things other than we see that we have been launching the rockets and the humans into space from more than 50 years. These efforts, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen that transcended international borders to build the most sophisticated technologies the world ever have seen. The International Space Station, the Mars Curiosity rover, the James Webb Space Telescope, and many other inventions, discoveries, developments, Apple, for example, Samsung, MP3 format, LED, semiconductors, hydrogen, fuel for future, future-oriented quantum computers, developments, all have the imprints of academia, industry, cooperation. Nothing is without, none of them have done this advancement without the industry, academia, and society cooperation. Collaboration need to be extended, to be stretched and broadened for underrepresented countries as well. That is what ISESCO is doing and trying. Today at this conference, our mission is to explore how we can harmonize these three pillars: academia, industry, and society. The pursuit of sustainability and well-being requires us to transcend silos and egos, to collaborate openly and honestly. It calls for innovation, determination, and long-term perspective. It necessitates that we not only strive for financial profits, but also consider the social and environmental bottom lines. Over the next 2 days, we have the opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue, share our insights, and forge the partnership that will propel us towards a more sustainable and equitable future. I request and urge each of you to be active participants, to challenge conventional thinking, and to seek out opportunities for collaboration. This was the official speech which I have to give you. Now I would like to give the presentation from ISESCO. Thank you very much for hearing me. So, ladies and gentlemen, ISESCO, as from its name, is Islamic World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, established in 1982. Its headquarters is in Rabat, Morocco. It's a beautiful city. It is a specialized organization for science, education, and culture. It's like UNESCO of the Islamic world. Its headquarters is in Morocco, as I mentioned, and I would say that come and visit. It is a very beautiful country. So I would like to start from, it is going by itself, yeah. So ISESCO, as I mentioned, is Islamic World Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, 54 member countries, and we are placed in Morocco. We are having 5 main sectors: is education, science and innovation, science and technology innovation, human and social sciences, culture, communication, partnership, and international cooperation department. We are present in 4 regions. You see in Africa, 17 member countries, Arab region 21, Asia 14, Latin America 2, which makes us 54 and makes our presence in 4 regions of the world. Priorities are women, children, youth, displaced, and refugees. I think it has, I'm not that smart in this. I don't know, it is going, yes, no, it is here. My apologies. It has some, okay, please stop. Yeah, okay. So, ISESCO in figures, hundreds of thousands of people, or I would say that direct benefits from our programs. ISESCO has so far organized around 5,000 the events, symposias, the conferences, the workshops, and the training sessions, like the capacity building and skill set acquisitions. 1,200 books and the studies have been published, where 3,500 plus studies and the research have been sponsored. 55 of cities have been declared as a capital of culture. Every year, ISESCO declares or proclaims the capital of Islamic cultures. Three cities from the different the countries and member countries, they are nominated to be the cultural capital. The number here, 237. Now it is around 400. The sites have been inscribed on the Islamic Heritage List, Islamic World Heritage List of ISESCO. 15 prizes to encourage the creativity and excellence have been given by ISESCO. 30 academic chairs ISESCO has established this year. And the target of ICESCO Director General Excellency Dr. Salam is to create 100 chairs by 2025. These chairs, for example, one of the chairs is a sustainable engineering is being established. It is already established at the IIUM. And these chairs are not only for the member countries. We have also established some chairs in the countries which are not our member countries. For example, we have established the chair on the space sciences applications in International Space University, France. We have established some in Germany, in Africa. And this is actually to connect the different institutions and the universities through these chairs to do some capacity building and to do some activities and to involve each other. It is actually like, I would say, it is a connectivity and outreach endeavor which ICESCO has started. And then we have made like 400 cooperation agreements in the last couple of years. I'm not talking about the memorandum of understanding. Actually, ICESCO likes and then tries to do the memorandum of agreements. So where the responsibilities and the liabilities, they are very, very well already established that what you are going to. It is not that we are only intending to do. We like to make it sure that we are going to do it. And then ICESCO has the regular ministerial conferences. The Minister of Science, the Ministers of Culture, the conferences, etc. Where we have already organized like 13 sessions of Culture Ministers Conferences. And now the next one, the 14th, is going to be held next week in Doha. And Higher Education and Scientific Research Ministers, 9 sessions we have already organized. Conference of Environment Ministers, every 2 years. This conference is organized by ICESCO in different the member countries. Now the 9th session of the Environment Ministers Conference is going to be 17th and 18th October in Jeddah. And then we have Conference of Education Ministers. Unfortunately, so far we have only 2 sessions. So why we do these conferences? These conferences are very much important to have some of the strategies to discuss with the ministers and on the policy makers. As we are saying today that this conference is about the academia, industry, and the governments. So we bring all these, the three factors of the society to these conferences, and then specific strategies they come out of it. So from these conferences, we have 16 sector-specific strategies. We got 6 action programs, 18 declarations, and 3 commitments. So this is the outcome of these conferences, and these chairs, and this establishing the different centers in different countries is also is a outcome of these conferences. I would say we are very much happy to be here with you, to co-host, to co-organize, and ICESCO is very much open to make the partnership, the collaboration with all of you who have the common vision with other organization. I say thank you very much. I am very much indebted and thankful to the rector of the International Islamic University Malaysia, Dr. Faris, and all the team who is working behind the screen and also in the front. Thank you very much, Asia Pacific Futures Network Management also taking us with. Thank you very much. Sorry for some disturbances.
Thank you, Dr. Sharif Akbar. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we are honored to introduce Senator Pia Cayetano, a member of the Philippine Senate 19th Congress and the chair of the Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking. Senator Cayetano will now deliver her keynote speech. Please welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. So I'm a senator of the Philippines. I'm an elected official. Am I the only elected official in this room? So by choice, I am a government official, and I came here by choice. I wasn't sent here. So I'm really happy to join all of you. I do like to share, I do take pride in sharing the work that we've done. I think there is a great need for more elected officials to take time and become explorers. I pride myself to be one. I probably do a little bit more vacationing sometimes than exploring, but that's just the balance in life that I choose to do. So let me tell you a little bit about my work. In 2019, I was re-elected to the Philippine Senate after 12 years of being a senator and 3 years of being a member of the House. I was re-elected for my third term, and I pushed for the creation of the very first Committee on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking. So that's been in place for 4 years. We're actually now in another Congress, and we were able to keep this committee there, so hopefully it's there to stay now. And I want to share with you the work that we have done since this committee has been put into place. So the main goal really here is for us to track where we are with the SDGs. This is work that I've done as a member of parliament and also actively participating in the Inter-Parliamentary Union, which is the largest and oldest organization for members of parliament. So that's my inspiration. And then we prepare for various futures. So as many of you may have encountered, introducing this topic raises a lot of eyebrows, a lot of laughs. But I mentioned the timeline. I introduced this when I was re-elected after 2 terms, so it was already my third. So I had already some amount of seniority, and so I could not have done it when I was younger. It requires that you can push some things around to be able to get that done. So I did push some things around. And then to shift our mindset to futures thinking as a major policy reform. So shifting this mindset is a constant struggle for me, but I've seen that it has become easier over time precisely because I'm like a broken record that they just have to keep on hearing and hearing and hearing until I somehow feel that my message is getting through. So they're used to me, my colleagues. There are only 24 senators in the Philippines, by the way. So it's like a small classroom of kids who never grow up, and we just have to keep listening to each other. So they're now used to hearing me say these things, and a lot of them will look to me sometimes now, which is very pleasant, very rewarding to get my input. And not that I can see the future, as you all know, but it's really just me, reminding everyone that let's pause and let's explore what are the different scenarios that we should be prepared for. It could be good, could be bad, could be boring, whatever, but let's at least discuss this. So just some examples of our work. So the committee was set up in 2019, so as you know, shortly after was COVID. So my very first official action really was filing a resolution to investigate how COVID-19 affected the various sectors. And when I read this, I'm like, should I include it? I mean, we all know what we went through, but it was very interesting at that time because that was also my opportunity to meet Dr. Sohail online and other futurists, Dr. Tumo Kosa and Saku Juhani Koskinen of Futures Platform in Finland. And it was very interesting for me. I continue to be a student of futures thinking, and it was an opportunity for me to bring in people who could not go vacationing. They had to be explorers at that time by listening online. So So we did that, and let me just jump into more work on the futures of health. So we had, I don't know, we had so many hearings on the futures of health, and we used COVID as a jumping point to have these kind of interesting discussions. And right now, so that was a previous Congress, but right now we're diving deep into this because the Philippines, like many other countries, are experiencing. So we are the providers of healthcare. So we are the ones losing healthcare workers to developed countries who are also in need of healthcare in need of healthcare workers and using our healthcare workers. And to be very blunt, I call it modern day colonialism because developed countries, some of the I don't know if they're recruiters or if they're connected with their governments, will actually go to our universities and entice the students and offer them scholarships while they're still students. A few years ago, it was they waited for them to practice for 2 years before they entice them to move to their countries. Now they're going to their universities, and they have been cases where they have recruited the whole department of a hospital, which is really bad. So these are the discussions we're having now because we need to prepare for this kind of reality that the world needs healthcare workers, and the Philippines is a great provider of healthcare workers. So how are we going to deal with that? I'll move forward. Education. This is extremely interesting for me because my first committee report was on the future of education. My first and only, because and the reason I say I emphasize that so far it's the only committee report I've produced because so much time is taken, as I said, tracking, intervening with the discussions going on, that to actually sit down and write the committee report takes a lot of time. So far that's been the only committee report. But aside from the Department of Education, I also handle the budget of, I handle the budget of education and health and cultural agencies. So for the last 4 years, I have been able to put in funding for futures thinking in the Department of Education, in the Department of Health, and in the Department of Science and Technology. So we actually have with us today representatives from 2 universities in the Philippines. Where are you, ladies? There you are there. Hello. So we're really happy that they were able to join us because every year, and hopefully every year I will have the ability to do that. We put in funding for their research and for their capacity building. What is interesting is that after 3 years, the NEP is the National Expenditure Program. This is the volumes of numbers that our Department of Budget produces every year that will dictate the budget for prosperity, securing a future-proof and sustainable economy, which for me is a win. It starts with the title, and hopefully the discussions and the depth is revealed over time. So just to show you a few more examples of the work that we do, we've also started discussions on the futures of cities and transportation. Won't go into details, just show you what we've done. And the outcome of that would be the walkable and bikeable communities bill, which we passed in the Senate. So that is actually a committee report, but in the form of a bill that will become a law. I am just waiting for the House of Representatives done in connection with the Sustainable Cities and Communities focus. I filed the bill, and this is also about greening and having food security. And then I already mentioned futures of education. I won't discuss that any further. But the very important hearing I've also had in the last few months is the future of water. So I won't say much more about it except that it's something that concerns me. My birthday happens to be on World Water Day, March 22. So, but I just found out years after this became an issue that I like to work on. And much work has to be done. So if there are any experts here, I'd love to chat later. And the future of work. So in connection with my work in education, I'm always tying this up to what kind of students are we producing, what kind of citizens. It was mentioned earlier that, you know, education doesn't have to just happen in the classroom, but we need to educate our children and what are the most effective ways. So, because at the end of the day, we need the kind of people who will work towards the empowerment of our country. So that is something we're also looking at. And I think I will end there. I always include in my discussions the need for intergenerational fairness. We as policymakers, as tasked in our constitution to finalize the budget, I feel are limited sometimes to make decisions that affect the voting public. But that's why I always try to elevate the discussion that it is our sworn duty to also look into the welfare of the future generation, the children who are not yet born. And it's a little bit hard for politicians to grasp that because a politician would always want to be re-elected. But it's a discussion that I feel always has to be had. So on that note, thank you for this opportunity to join this amazing conference, and I wish everybody the best.
Thank you, Senator. We would like to call upon Professor Dr. Zainal Abidin Sanusi, the Director of the APFN9 Conference and Sejahtera Center for Sustainability and Humanity, IIUM, to provide important program introductions and housekeeping details.
Hi, Shari. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone. Good morning. Salam sejahtera. I'm here just to brief a bit on the conference, the flow of the conference and the spirit behind, so that you can get the feel. Because some are quite new to futures. There's different categories, as how Josh mentioning, explorer, vacationer, shopper, and all this group of people. We try to change them from one group to another. So to cut trees, not to cut trees, to save from cutting trees, we're using this code, QR code for everyone for your reference. So I would like to go through it briefly so that we get the feel and what is there. So let's do that together. You scan the thing and it should appear, and I'll do it together as well, so that we are familiar with this. Those who doesn't have, you're responsible for the printing that we do for you, right? Can you put, okay, is that on? Can you see the first page of the screen? No? All right, what appear there is, yeah. Is it on? So everyone got it on? It should be on, yeah? So you will get APFN agenda, should be there, event map, and link to live session, because the YouTube is on now. If you would like to get friends to follow on YouTube. So if you click on the APFN agenda, you'll see the whole detail of the conference and the venues, where they are, right? All the venues are just 1 minute walking from here outside, yeah? Including the toilet as well, if you need one, right? The banquet, the food as well, and you get the free flow. All right, I'll go through a bit quickly the detail of the program, because we're trying to be practical in the conference, yeah, not just academic discourse of it, but also the practical part of it. Yeah, you generally the conference will be divided into. You will be given. There will be a panel. There will be a keynote speech to start with, and then there will be plenary. Right, from the panel, from the keynote to the plenary and the track. So the track will be on moderate, it will be academic track and workshop track. So academics is a bit of research presentations, And then you have a workshop track, which is a very practical one. You have got a practitioner who would like to share their experience and sharing their skills. So the detail of this, so all this will happen in that template, in that routine. Yeah? There will be 4 teams, and you can see the detail of it, and there will be our staff outside to help you to know the venues. Yeah? Ashari will explain a bit on where there's the logistic, yeah, because when we go for the breakup, is a bit, the room is outside, yeah, you get to go closer to the banquet hall and upstairs, yeah. What else you need to know about the conference to make it most convenient is that we are quite concerned about time, yeah. Some may exceed, some may not, but we'll do a standard one to each sessions. When you're given yellow, you've got 2 minutes extra. Right? And when you're given the red one, you are in the future already. You're taking times, yeah? So please stop voluntarily or forcibly, right? So we'll run in that manner, okay? So that we will be able to somehow respect time and be very comfortable, okay? So I guess that's enough. I mean, that's all for the quick briefing what will happen. Please make yourself comfortable. Unless, George, you want to add something else?
Maybe let's introduce a timekeeping signal also.
Okay, all right.
So, because this one has traveled to many conferences already. So when you hear this, this actually means maybe coffee break starts or it's over. So yeah, I mean, this is the last mean. After the red card, we can use the gong and then maybe a bit more.
Not only, right?
If it's necessary. Okay? So.
All right, another one you'll find in the back, this thing that is very common practice now. In the back, you'll find it. If you want to check out, if you don't get one, please. This is to be used because we're not providing water individually on the table. These are recyclable, just usable one, yeah, for you. The free flow water will be on the left. Use this, yeah. There is paper cup there, but I strongly encourage to use this. And I thought this would be quite a good souvenir as well. You remember us, all right. So, Josh, is that all? Are we ready to go? Yeah. Please remember there are different tracks of your interest. There are starting with a keynote, followed by plenary, and there are tracks for concurrent tracks for that. So I wish you all the best for the conference. Hopefully you get the most in terms of networking, contents, or the practical thing to take away. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. So for a very quick housekeeping or / logistics. All right. So later we'll be having panel sessions in which we'll be splitting into different plenary tracks to facilitate focused discussions. All right. So for Cempaka is located at Block A, which is here in level 1. From the entrance, I believe is on my right side. Bunga Raya is also here in level 1. For Berlian and Delima is located at Block B, which is at the back of this hall. You may go out and go to the back, okay, and go to level 2. All right, we will be having these concurrent sessions later, yeah. We also have another venue which is for open space, which is located at the lobby, right, downstairs, ground floor, yeah. And for information, for food for day 1, lunch is served at the banquet hall, which is also located at Block B later. And then throughout the conference, we have a free flow of coffee and tea at the back. All right, please help yourself. And later this evening, we will be having dinner, which will be held here at the Campo Hall. All right, okay. And also feel free to ask our committee members should you need any further information. All right, okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will now break for a brief intermission. Please take this opportunity to refresh yourselves, We kindly request your prompt return as we will resume our proceedings at precisely 10:30 a.m. Right? Thank you. The gong, please. Oh, yes, okay.
One more very important announcement. You didn't see the usual opening gimmick, whatever, just now. It will happen in the afternoon, where the Deputy Minister of Higher Education will be in. It start at 6, immediately after the sessions. So we'll close the door at the back, so to make sure you're here. Right? Just kidding. Please stay back as if you can. So there will also be award giving ceremony as well. So we'll start at 6. Just if you have some information.
Yes, as you might know, since 2022, we have the APFN Awards, and some of the awardees could actually manage to come here. So we're going to hand over the award for the institution who has contributed the most in Asia and the Pacific to future thinking, and also for the best article in collaboration with the Journal of Future Studies. And so we have also one person here who got an honorable mention. So 3 awards. So the Deputy Minister will hopefully be our guest of honor to hand over the award. So, and we're gonna have maybe more informal conversations.
Yes, and it will be done in the dinner setup. So we'll be together, the launching and the dinner and the award ceremony. So hopefully that will be the best format to do today, right? So all the best. We'll have a break. Yeah, all right. We'll meet again at 10:30. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We are going to start. May I request all of you to take your seats? Ladies and gentlemen, may I request your cooperation to have a seat as we are going to continue with our event. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Asia Pacific Futures Network Conference. We are about to commence with thematic session number 1, focused on the critical topic of bridging the gaps among academia, industry, and society for sustainable futures. To begin this session, we are honored to present a keynote presentation by Professor Ode Rashid Al-Jayusi, the ISESCO Chair at International Islamic University, Malaysia. Professor Al-Jayusi's insights promise to shed light on the essential aspects of this theme. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Professor Ode Rashid Al-Jayusi.
The presentation. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I think I can talk even if the presentation is not available. I remember my mother used to tell me when I travel that I should not eat beef since there is cow madness, and I should not eat birds. There is avian flu. And that's why I still remember how can we manage, how can we live on a planet that we are afraid to eat any living organism. Well, talking back to my presentation, bringing the gap. People live in Ivory Coast. I'll talk about these, basically how we can rethink the industry-academia collaboration, and talk about models of co-creation and some key messages. Very brief presentation. The key question is, what are the key challenges for industry-university collaboration? What are the best practices, and how can we foster collaboration between different species with have different cultures and different time spans and different value of time and space? The key message is how we can bridge a gap between two cultures and between two entities in terms of academia and industry who has different value of time and different appreciation of action and space. The key challenges is research is conducted in vacuum in academia in many cases, and there's also this misaligned time horizons. So that's why people will argue that academia, they live only in ivory towers, and the industry is just doing actions, and they find solutions. So how to bridge the gap between two different islands, two different cultures, and two different appreciation of time and space. In one hand, researchers seem to be more interested in proposing new techniques, focusing on innovation and novelty. On the other hand, practitioners are interested on real work solutions and hard solutions rather than innovation or novelty. So there is a paradox between what do we stand for, what is of value, and what has a meaning. One of the reasons of this disconnect between research and the practice basically is that people look differently about the value of research and relevance of research to the real life problems. And another challenge is that the idea of time horizons. People look at different geological times in terms of foresight sometimes, and in industry they look at quarters, budgets, and 4 months time span, or 3 months perhaps, maybe less. So time is of matter. And in many cases, we see that the outcome, the KPIs, the key performance indicators for academia is about publication, while for practitioners is about solutions to real core problems. So at the end of the day, we need to answer the core question: what industry wants from researchers, and how to manage expectations. One way is we need to look at lessons learned in the last 15 years of collaboration in Asia and Africa and Asia Pacific. These are the key lessons that in order to ensure, to bridge the gap, you need to focus on continuity, that you need to have accumulation of research. You need to ensure that there is a communication between the two entities, and also there should be an alignment between industry and academia. This is very crucial. And at the end of the day, you need to have impact and value creation. So the idea is about how you can create value for academia and society. And one way to do that is, you need to focus on what we call collaborative co-creation or collaborative research. What means that the problem's definition should be defined by both industry and academia and society. So this co-creation is crucial, that you have a research that is relevant and timely and produces value. This is one conceptual framework for this co-creation, that you create one team between academia and industry. So its problems are defined by both, and then you develop what we call a co-creation process, where you define a problem and where you create a research knowledge loop and to produce outcomes in terms of patents or patents. And in a nutshell, a co-creation is about how you create a shared vision, a shared construction of reality, and a shared definition of the problem. In literature, you find different models, patterns of collaboration between industry and academia, which is, you can summarize it, and this is the patterns. You have reciprocity between stakeholders. We have standardized data exchange. There is a synergy. There is, again, one model of collaboration is authorship or IPs, intellectual property rights, or thinking about long-term tasks that enable remote collaboration. Thinking beyond the scope of the project, that's very critical. Beyond the 3 year or the 2 years, how can you build a sustainable, long-term relationship in terms of research to create value and to create meaning and purpose? To do that, you need to have what we call a mission-oriented policy, a human-centered development model, which is basically how you can argue that if people matters, as if people matter, do people matter? We are confronted with what we call a Muslim Ummah paradox. We've talked about ISISCO and the model of Islamic University in Malaysia, but however, there is a gap between rich and poor that affects human dignity in the Muslim Ummah. And also there is, you can see the paradox of existence of poverty and affluence within the Muslim community. And it's interesting to see this, how can you reconcile the richness within poverty and poverty within richness in the Muslim Ummah. And how you define, I remember in one of the exercises of foresight about a decade ago in Switzerland, there was a think tank working on the future of sustainability. And one German thinker, he argued in a very nice manner, saying, well, in order to define sustainability, we need to define what constitutes a good life, حياة طيبة. In order to define sustainability, what is the progress? So you need to redefine progress and success and happiness, the pursuit of happiness. So what's happiness? So you need to define what constitutes a good life, or حياة طيبة. So again, falah, success. In the Muslim terminology, what is success? Is it about more trophies, more publications, or more impact for humanity? So again, redefining success, redefining prosperity, redefining what constitutes a good life. It's critical to define what we call a mission economy. A mission economy, now people talk about the time well spent, or the attention economy, or now people talk about the moral economy and sharing economy. So we need to understand what is a mission economy that's based on, this is one of my books, which I talk about icon. In order to have a mission economy, you need to have this icon. You need to have the individual innovation, the mindset of innovation, the growth mindset. You need to have a community, the C for the community, I for the individual, and you need to have the organizational learning, a knowledge creating entity. And also you need to have a mission, what you call a national innovation system. A mission for a country that is driven by the software. The software is the social, the ecological, and the technical approach. So the icon is that you need to have the individual mindset, a growth mindset, a city, a community that appreciates diversity, celebrates diversity, and also an organization that creates knowledge, and a mission for a nation. Again, the reform agenda, how you can localize SDGs and you structure institutions that can produce value. This is, in a nutshell, you need to have what I call عمارة الأرض, as the rector had just mentioned beautifully in his education and edu-action. You need to focus on ecological assets, عمارة الأرض, عمران. You need to look at low carbon transition, what we call degrowth, زهد, degrowth. And also we need to look at social goods, we call it arham. And also look at the decent livelihood dignity, human dignity. So these are the 4 dimensions of our human ecological investments that focus on Imran, Zuhud, Arham, and dignity. How can we build collaboration between academia, industry, and society in not only to have smart cities, but also to have wise cities? And not only have to have smart societies, but to have wise societies. So we are fascinated with KPIs to be smart, but sometimes being too much smart without appreciating to be wise how you manage your resources and how you think of future generations, it can have a counterproductive effect. So how you think the unit of analysis, the region, how you define an ecoregion, a Middle East or ISISCO or Asia Pacific, how you define an ecological unit of analysis that is sustainable and that has complementarity, how you think of metrics beyond GDP or GNP, metrics for happiness or metrics for prosperity. Again, the spirituality that was mentioned this morning by the rector, how you think of spiritual intelligence rather than naturalistic or logical intelligence. To have an innovative assets in cities, you need to focus on the talent, the technology, the capital and infrastructure, and also you need to plan how you can mediate investment. If you have right planning and land use planning, you can facilitate the proper investment in the human capital and social capital. The future of cars, automobiles, we've seen in Philippines the presentation by Senator about clean energy, but also it would be interesting to see at the electric car, the future of electric cars in Asia. Now, maybe in the coming decade, maybe the mobility will have a different infrastructure. Electric cars can be one of the disruptive technologies that might change the landscape. Again, from circular economy to a sharing economy that basically empower the poor, empower the marginalized and the voiceless, making sure that a co-creation of a city that is not only smart, but wise city and a humane city that respects diversity. And also you need to make sure that you have an urban access, a city that has celebrates diversity and celebrates a human capital that is of value. Again, smart and green. Sometimes people have this dichotomy between if it's smart, can it be green or vice versa. We want to make sure that even if it's circular or green, it has to be also smart and sustainable. You minimize waste and you reduce ecological footprints. Finally, I think we need also to learn from nature, inspired from nature, looking at naturalistic intelligence. How can we live in harmony with the living organisms and learn from every living species, which going beyond commodification of culture or commodification of human, but rather looking beyond nature as a commodity, but rather as a source of inspiration, since it is part of our natural capital. The key messages: we need to establish the limits, the carrying capacity, knowing the planetary boundaries, looking at the fiscal reform for sustainability, looking at and fix the economics, investing in public assets, and also change the social logic, strengthen the human and social capital, and also going even in causal layered analysis. I'm glad that I met Dr. Suhail today, looking at metaphors, the word views, rather than the numbers, the statistics. Statistics can be misleading. So we need to go beyond surveys and numbers to look for the narratives, to look for the story, the metaphors that underlies what is of value. Finally, we need to look at 3 eyes. Everybody, we have 3 eyes, we have 2 eyes. Maybe with the iPhone we have 3 eyes, but we need to look at different eyes. The 3 eyes in Arabic, I call it the Iman, it's faith, in Arabic Iman. And also ilm is the science, reason, to build on evidence-based solution, Iman, ilm. And the third one is ijtihad, innovation. So you need to have these 3 eyes in order to capture the essence of collaboration and the essence of futures. And the beautiful hadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he says that, away from fatalism, it's a beautiful hadith which says, even if it's the last day of judgment and you have a small palm tree, just plant it. فَلْيَغْرِسْهَا. So the sense of hope, a people of hope. So we believe that the Muslim Ummah should strive on it's a community of hope, since even if it's the last day of judgment, you have all hurricanes. If you have a small palm tree, just plant it. So among destruction, you see a seeds for hope. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now transitioning into a moderated panel session titled The Future of Sustainability, the Sustainability of the Future. Before we proceed, I would like to invite Mr. Freddy Zulkarnain, Professor Dr. Ahmad Faris Ismail, Associate Professor Elisha Nasruddin, and Diana Cheong on stage. Our distinguished moderator for this session is Mr. Freddy Zulkarnain, the Vice Chancellor for Planning and Development from the Tawi-Tawi College of Technology and Oceanography of Mindanao State University. Mr. Freddy Zulkarnain's expertise in the field makes him a valuable guide for our panel discussion. Let us now warmly welcome Mr. Freddy Zulkarnain and our esteemed panelists as we embark on this enlightening dialogue.
Selamat pagi, magandang umaga, assalamualaikum. Thank you, Secretariat, for having a short display on the background. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today with the topic that's not just a buzzword, but a lifeline of our planet and future generation. The futures of sustainability, the sustainability of the futures. As we navigate a world grappling with climate change, resource depletion, and social inequities, the question isn't just how to build a sustainable future, but also how to ensure that these futures remain sustainable. In a couple of minutes, we are going to explore types of education that promote discourses on quadruple helix cooperation, futures of education and integration of well-being into the curriculum, research, technologies, and innovation to promote sustainable futures of society. So let us explore the innovation, policies, and mindset that can make enduring sustainability a reality. Our first resource speaker is a leading figure at the International Islamic University of Malaysia. Where he serves as Deputy Rector and Co-Chair of the UNESCO Chair in Future Studies. A decorated academician, he has been recognized for his contribution to Islamic university education. With a background in chemical engineering from top United States institution, he has held various key positions at the IIUM, including a prior role as Deputy Rector for Research and Innovation and longtime Dean of Engineering. He is not just an administrator, he is a prolific researcher with a focus on energy, environment, and advanced fluid dynamics. Our research speaker holds at least 8 patents and has won international awards for his innovation. In a nutshell, our research speaker is a multifaceted academic leader, blending administration, research, and international collaboration to drive progress in higher education. With the topic Ecosystem for Sustainability, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Ahmad Faris Ismail.
Can I just start from here? Thank you very much, Mr. Freddy, the moderator, for this morning session, fellow panelists. distinguished guests, and of course the participants, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, I'm very happy to be here, part of the panelists, and listening to the keynote speeches, including the officiating or opening remark from the senator from the Philippines. I think we have been very inspired talking about the futures. So I have chosen the topic of ecosystem for sustainability in this very short time given to me, just to share with you what we have been doing at IIUM, and particularly, the UNESCO Chair for Future Studies at IIUM. I guess to our mind, as I think you mentioned in the keynote speeches, in the keynote speech by the rector of the university, education is a very important success factor for sustainable futures. I think everybody agree. Okay, so in order to do that at IIUM, we have embarked in what we call humanizing education, bringing back the soul to the university. I think that is very important. I think just before the COVID, scholars at the time was talking about university without soul. So we are saying now that we have to bring back the soul to the university. And because of that, we have embarked on humanizing education, preparing the future leaders, as mentioned by Her Excellency Senator just now. We need a responsible leaders, a wise leader, and also I would say that leaders that are caring about their society. So under this humanizing education at our university, so of course we embark in this edu action. So we are trying to champion what we call community concept. I think this from the humanizing education, we are going to community concept. Meaning how the university can be close to the society, how the university can make impact to the society. We are not talking just about community services, but we are talking about community transformation. Just to share with you, we have been talking about in our university for many, many years, that how can we impart to our students this sense of responsibility for the community. So in the past, yes, we have our community services activities, but we saw that only 10-20% of the students and staff are involved. So we brainstorm and we come up with, we transform our curriculum so that now all our students must be involved in the community. So I think this is a very, big success. So now we make it a requirement in our curriculum that all our students must participate and must go to the community, understanding the community, part of their experiential learning. So that with that I think they can be a better person, a better graduates that can lead the community in the future, solving the problems that facing our humanity. In addition to that, we are also encouraging, we did this compulsory courses during their first, second year, but when they go to third year and fourth year, then we are now embedding in our curriculum, be it in engineering, be it in medicine, or for that matter in even human sciences subjects, economics, law, we are also engaging the students in many more projects that deal with the real community problems, so that they can see, based on their knowledge and their expertise that they learned in the classroom, they can contribute to the community directly. With the hope that at the end of the day, we can have impact to the society. And of course, in our university, we have the various flagships that, I mean, students and staff are engaging, I mean, in this community university project. So since the theme of this panel also involve collaboration, so we also stress, I mean, university alone cannot do this job. So that's why we are promoting the inter-agency, I mean, interdisciplinary barriers. I mean, we are working very close to various NGOs in not only in Malaysia, but also outside Malaysia, looking at this sustainability issue. And of course, I cannot agree more with the senator this morning that I think the government policy makers must also come and subscribe to these sustainability projects by providing, of course, the policies. And I'm very happy to see in Philippines they're also providing funding, which Mr. Freddy is enjoying every year. We hope that we can get that type of funding every year to our institution also. So maybe there is one good lesson that we learn from the senator this morning. So I guess the policymakers, the civil servant, the NGOs, and of course, like what our professor just now mentioned, the industry. I think that is my last point. I think the industry also, I think, because so far, when we are talking about the industry, they are more interested in profit. They are more interested in growth. Yeah. But I think lately, I mean, our expert also has been called by, for example, in the banking sector to see how the banking also can support the sustainability projects. So we hope that the industry with this, I think, can work closely with us in coming out a more sustainable projects. Maybe they have to sacrifice a little bit on the profit so that we can work together towards a better future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paris. Actually, in our country, it's only started, I think, 2 years ago that our good senator give funding for capacity development of futures thinking and strategic foresight for almost all state universities and colleges in the country. So in our university, we have conducted 2 training workshops on foresight and futures thinking. But suddenly, in my province, I'm the only one pushing it to democratize futures thinking. Thank you. So our next resource speaker is a seasoned expert in foresight and green business. Sorry. As a seasoned expert in foresight and green business with a 20-year career spanning research, training, and teaching, specializing in organizational transformation, ethics, and sustainability, she's been a trailblazer in applying foresight to educational and corporate landscape. A key member of University Science Malaysia pioneering foresight team, she has merged academic research with practical industry needs, covering topics from green business to social innovation. She currently teaches research methodology in both doctorate and MBA programs, emphasizing qualitative and case-based research. Our research speaker is also played pivotal role in shaping the MBA curriculum in sustainable development since 2009. Her work serves as a bridge between academia, industry, focusing on sustainable futures for all. With the topic, Futures Contestation on Higher Education for Sustainable Development, Revisiting Responsible Business Education for the Common Good. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Elisa Nasruddin. I am too close. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone here. Can I get some help with my slides? Can someone help me with my slides? Oh, yeah, okay. So how do I go? All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you for having me here today. I'm very, very much honored to be here in a room full of futurists, while also explorers and perhaps prisoners at the same time in this room. I see myself a prisoner as also an explorer at the same time, because I may be boxed in my own way of thinking for being around futures studies since 2005 when Prof. Tan Sri Zul started it in University of Science Malaysia, where I come from, Penang at the moment. So I have my own set views of looking at things. I do hope that you uncage my minds when I share my thoughts and my own worldview about what I have in front of me. So without a doubt, now I just want to go about with a few key thoughts that I want to share. And there are 3 points to it. First of all is to paint the picture of the world of the digital natives, the narratives that we have around us. Second is to go through 2 contestations that we have in front of us about the future, where the digital natives come in. And third, to be able to understand what is the decolonizing worldview that we may enforce upon us, because as what Prof. Faris was saying just now, is when you bring in the role of businesses in here, can we do so actually? So where I come from, I teach business executives, and it is a very difficult situation we're in, because we're pitching between profit and a much more mission-centered approach where humanity comes in. So without doubt, if I continue on, right, we are here. Right. Now, I just want to focus us on the point here is, if we talk about the drivers of the future, I just want to point to one of the drivers, which is looking at the idea of global learning crisis and democratizing of education, which is very much a part of our life, right? So if I move on to the next point, and that is about the most important contestation number 1 that I want to bring in is about that the future of work and the future of 21st century skills is around the idea of hegemony of industry relevant skills and competency of human resources, human capital transformation in technology-enabled worldviews. Again, we're talking about a technology-enabled worldview, and because of that, it's centered around digital natives, and those who win are those who are able to surround themselves with skills around being technology-enabled, if you will. But because of that, right, if you look from the point of view of the future scenario into the future, we just left the COVID, we moved into the pandemic, and now we're in a post-pandemic environment where we still have issues surrounding it. But if you look at a possible scenario of the future, if you look at potentially the brainstorm or the wildcard scenario, if I pick one, all right? Right, if I pick one and I contextualize this to a storyline where we may have high digital literacy amongst us, but rising injustices. Now, what would we find in a scenario of a brewing storm? We may find, among others, and if I pick one of these, is the stories of work-life imbalances, the stories of low communal connection amongst us, the story of local wisdom is not valued as opposed to knowledge that is based on technology. The stories about how perhaps those who may be in the aging society may be marginalized because they may not be part of the creative aging society. So this is the stories that we are facing into the future. And that is part and parcel of what we call, perhaps, could this be the brainstorm of the future? Now, if you put another point to it, if it's a wildcard scenario, all right? If it's a wildcard scenario, I really do not know how to manage this. If it's a wildcard scenario, what happens into the future? We may have a future where we may have a low awareness of a shared economy, and social capacity for change is limited because we are very much glued to being a digital native of the future. Of course, it could be the opposite, that we may be moving towards a sharing economy, but it might also not be the case. So this is where we might be able to see that the resilience and the adaptation of the digital native society may be very weak. And it might be that we may not be able to survive the next pandemic or climate change into the future which emerge. Could it be or could it not be? It's a question that we may have to ask ourselves. Now, that is the first contestation I have about the issue of how we are very much in a world where we are going through a situation where the hegemony of the relevant skills are coming to us. How about the second contestation? The second contestation is where the undesirable and desirable impacts of digital penetration in an inclusive society. Can we move towards a much more desirable impact for an inclusive society? My view is, if you look at the context of, if you look at the context of digital society, we are actually moving to what we call a learning dystopia. Maybe not, maybe yes, but if we look at this future's wheel, which you can read, so I'm so sorry, but I just have to show you that this is the digital, this is the future's wheel which I create with my students. Now, one of the things you can see with this is that the outer end of the circle, the one in yellow that I highlighted, it will show you that at the end of the day, will the digital natives be able to understand the meaning of happiness, or will they redefine the meaning of happiness and well-being in the learning process that they'll go through? Will they be able to understand what is the context of connecting with the instincts and experiences in learning? Because the world of the digital natives is very boxed at the moment, and to be able to connect with the spiritual learning is very much limited unless you are very much aware of what you're going through. So based on this future's wheel, and you think about actually the context of what we want to talk about, we move ahead. I'm really in and out, so I'm so sorry about this. Yes, I just want to show this slide, if I can. The last slide. Right, sorry. This slide. All right. Okay, I'm stopping there. Now, it's moving. Okay, so this slide shows that as we move forward in a business education that is centered towards decolonizing mentality of how we can integrate a better learning into the future, we need to be able to understand that there are four contextual digital learning. There is digital divide, digital childhoods, digital dangers, and digital priorities. We want to move towards digital priorities where we understand that there are certain priorities we want to unlock in spite of the dangers and the childhood images that digital natives have into the future. And we want to move towards what we call the R 5.0 ethics-centered approach, where at the end of the day, it is about churning more local wisdoms on harmony and common destiny. So it's not about being technology able and having particular skills to complete a particular task, but it's about connecting to livelihood competencies and working with community to create more local wisdoms rather than having industries to decide and we participate in certain initiatives that's about surrounding sustainability. And that is what's lacking in education today, in higher education, especially where it's centered around business education, actually. So a lot of this will have to stem from the business schools or management education that surrounds forging ahead livelihood competencies as the most important ingredient. And we talk about learning to the future and sustainability literacy, which is oriented towards digital learning, especially so. And this is why we talk about digital priorities into the future. And with that, any future collaboration between industry, government and academia, as well as civil society, it has to stem from these bullet points that we have in front of you, which connect back to the role of community, the role of sharing, the role of social activism, the role of civic engagement, which is very much still lacking at this moment in time. And with that, I thank you with the presentation time I have.
Thank you, Dr. Olisa. Sorry, the Secretariat has made us so squeezed with the time allotment. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, our next resource speaker, but not least, is the driving force behind the Center of Strategic and Policy Studies in Brunei, serving as its Executive Director and Chief Researcher. Leading the country's premier think tank, she focuses on an array of national priorities from economic growth to climate change. A strong advocate for future-focused, evidence-based policy, she initiated the Brunei Futures Initiative. This groundbreaking program has trained government and NGO leaders in strategic foresight and conducted key research projects that have shaped Brunei future, including the National Youth Policy and the Royal Brunei Police Force Strategic Plan. In short, our resource speaker is a visionary leader at the intersection of research and policy, helping to chart a strategic course for the Brunei's future. With her topic, Strategic Foresight in Brunei Darussalam, CSPS Brunei Futures Initiative, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Diana Chong. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My presentation today is not very academic. It's just going to be a simple introduction and overview of some of the futures work that is being conducted in Brunei. And I hope you can see how futures is important and has actually been applied in policy making in Brunei government. So strategic foresight or future studies is relatively new in Brunei, but it is increasingly recognized as key to good governance. We all live in a world characterized by increasing complexity and uncertainty. Our policymakers are continuously faced with disruptive changes, and alongside things that we have not anticipated and globally experienced by all of us, such as sudden digital transformation, the pandemic, and so on, Brunei specifically is now facing the negative ramifications of a long-term culture of assuming that our default future, abundant oil and gas, is here forever. I forgot I've got slides. I was told to, I was asked to put slides on, so I guess that helps because it might beautify my presentation. I actually took this from my colleague at the very last minute, but it flows. Okay, so just introducing you very quickly. CSPS, which is where I work, and my colleague over there, is also called Center for Strategic and Policy Studies, is Brunei's main think tank for policy making. We try to produce insightful, future-driven research and evidence-based policy recommendations with the help of Sohail and especially Dr. Ivana, who was with us for quite a while. They were the gurus for setting up what we coined CSPS's Brunei Futures Initiative in 2016. And, oh, it's moved. Hang on. So these are the, okay. what we try to do is to be an internationally recognized foresight think tank. The BFI was set up to bring together individuals and organizations that have interest in futures to collaborate on foresight-related policy changes. We have found futures methodology and approaches very useful in dealing with policies, especially because CSPS actually is mandated to advise the government on policy making on all areas related to national development. So we found it very useful dealing with policies which are usually complex, uncertain, and politically sensitive. Alternative, unattractive, and even preposterous scenarios we have found can be presented to our policymakers to be considered, especially when such scenarios would have been cast aside using conventional policy analysis. Oh, how do you make this not automatic? Let's go back one step here. Let's move it. Next slide, please. Okay, oh, go back. I didn't do this, did I? Next slide, please. Stop. Okay. So how do we do this? The whole objective, as I said, is to contribute towards national development, which incorporates all of the global SDGs. We do this by capacity building, which will enable anticipatory governance and a more proactive foresight outlook. We do this by collaborating with government, ministries, departments, agencies, industries, and the public to design resilient policies. And we do this by increasing awareness, and we advocate for strategic foresight. Let's stop at this slide. So recognizing that we should avoid a firefighting approach in policy making and the need to continually scan and address the signals and things that may be significant in the longer term, CSPS has been offering a series of training courses which combine strategic foresight and strategic planning skills. This course has been very popular with government mid to senior officers in building their leadership and policy capabilities. Maybe it doesn't quite work. Is it controlled by yourself? Okay. Let me talk a little bit about our training courses, then I'll go on to the research projects. Okay. The training courses are very important because, as I said, foresight, it was basically, nobody knows much about it until Dr. Ivana and Sohail came and helped us set the BFI up. So in the courses, we emphasize that foresight is very important in the visioning process of strategic planning of the government. And because this enables government to open their mind and to expect a less predictable and to look at alternative futures. Our course provides participants with competency into a number of foresight methodology so that our officers are able to do better horizon scanning, scenario development exercises, and exploring alternative strategic paths to help develop more robust policies needed to achieve our overall national vision. To date, CSPS has trained about 300 mid-level to senior government and NGO officers. This may not seem much in a big country, but in Brunei, with under 300,000 people, it's a big percentage. Last year, the course was upgraded and given quality assurance by IIUM, thank you very much, and the UNESCO Chair of Future Studies, which is good because we are able to attract more people into the course. Thank you. Part of the course consists of group project work, which is done over a month, where the participants will go back to work and then their projects will be assessed by IIUM itself, showing very good understanding of foresight tools taught in the course. A number of good projects has resulted which, I mean, it was marked by IIUM as quite, some of them were awarded grade A's and so forth. Just to give you some example of the topics that came up in this group project, which would never have materialized had they not gone through future studies. Basically, we were in, status quo mode. So one was team Vibrant and Green. Am I running out of time? All right. Kampong Air Beyond 2040. This deals with our heritage water village, which was basically going derelict. But our project, consisting of very important ministry people, came up with the idea that it could one day be a thriving village, showcasing itself as a renewable energy city. So there was a number of things. Another one was like from our university, Brunei Darussalam, the National University, and the Ministry of Education, whereby they envision a future in Brunei, not too far off, I hope, whereby all 5 universities will become one fully open access university, inclusive and global in outlook. Aside from training, CSPS has also conducted a number of research projects for the government, and this has been applied into the government's policies mentioned by Freddie. I can't seem to get it to move now. Okay, one that we are very proud of is the fact that using foresight methodology, we came up with a new vision for our youth of Brunei. Rather than a very traditional one which existed before, the ministry accepted this vision. Okay, never mind. You will see from that vision, it's actually very, it's trendy. I was pleased that, okay, there it is. Future, values-driven, world-class youth who are future-ready agents of change for national development rooted in inclusivity. This became applied and accepted as Brunei's national policy. Another one which Freddie's mentioned is, we've done many of this, by the way. I'm just mentioning one or two. A strategic plan for the next 5 years for the police force, and here the police have stated, after some foresight methodology training, that in view of rapidly changing environment where the police operate, accompanied by new forms of crime, new technologies, and so forth, basically it is a very futuristic type of vision which the police have accepted. Other important ones that we are doing and just completed is a scenario development project which took us 2 years to complete, to look at job futures for Brunei. This is particularly important given a scenario in Brunei at the moment where there is high youth unemployment, underemployment, and the fact that Brunei is trying to accelerate towards the 4IR. So we got our stakeholders, the government, to consider a possible future where, where AI and related, digitalization technologies take over, and we may have a future whereby we have joblessness amongst our youth, even worse, bifurcation of labor, defeating our SDG goal of equality and inclusivity. So these are all addressed. Another good one project to mention before Freddie asked me to stop is our continuous horizon scanning project, which we've been doing all the while, starting by Ivana. One of the deliverables was a set of deck cards whereby we identified about 48 signals, driving forces, and trends that will affect Brunei, and it is being used now. We actually sell these deck cards, $50 Brunei dollars, which is quite a lot. It needs to be updated, but it is now being used by the MOE for part of their syllabus, the general paper for A-levels and baccalaureate. So, I mean, this is very good. So that's one. And also, I should mention here, since ISESCO is here, is that this horizon scanning exercise is now being updated, and we are now in collaboration with ISESCO to do another project whereby we will look at Brunei first as the sample, and then develop our emerging issues analysis towards the region. So thank you very much for your time. As I said, my paper is not very academic, but I hope my short brief has been useful to show you an example of how a research institution is working in synergy with the government and relevant stakeholders using futures in order to make good policies for sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, resource speaker. It was really an enriching topics on the futures of sustainability and the sustainability of the future. This time we come to the most, sometimes we call this the most awaited part of the panel discussion, that is, we are now entering to the question and answers segment. But of course, as the moderator, I'll be the first one to kick things off, posing question to our three panelists or resource speaker. Then after that, audience, we open the floor for you to ask question, and please address directly to each panelist that you would like to address it. No? First, I have a question to Dr. Paris. Since he was talking about the ecosystem of sustainability. So since I am from the government state university, what could be the best practices a higher education institution to get involved its constituent and ecosystem for sustainability? What could be the best practices a university or higher education institution to get involved its constituent and ecosystem for sustainability?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Let me try to be brief. I guess buy-in is very important. Buy-in from all the, in the university setting, especially, then we are talking about all the stakeholders, staff, students, visitors, parents, as well as even government. Buy-in from the stakeholders are very, very important in order for us to produce a very good ecosystem for sustainability. But more important than that, I would say that based on our experience, preaching alone is not enough. But you must show by example, and you must show by a successful projects. You may start small, but then as you bring success, and then you can show the impact on the ground, then it will bring more people to join the projects. So as much as, like, I think I can, for example, we call our campus as garden of knowledge and virtue. So part of the beautification of the garden is we are encouraging different departments, or even the hostels, the dormitories, I mean, as well as all the faculties to involve in this part of beautification of the garden. And then to share with you, our university, even it comes for us to be to surprise. It's a surprise to us. We were voted as the best toilet in the country. Yeah. So we win. I think last year suddenly two of our toilets on campus are the best toilet in the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so you can imagine if the toilet is clean, then the rest are, I think, already taken care of. So So I guess what is important, if it's that, then we'll promote other people, to join in. And we have a very good project in one campus where they talk about sharing of, let's say, pre-loved materials. So they set up Facebook where people can share that, okay, I have these things that are still new, whoever want to use it. So these are the things that sustainability effort that we are doing on campus, apart from, of course, other small and big plans. But very important is to create awareness. And now that, since we are part of the university, is to put in our curriculum, okay, and also in our practice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Paris. That is very inciting practices that they have in IIUM. So since Dr. Elisa talked about revisiting the green business education, we are not promoting here, no? In Malaysia, what university championed responsible business education? In Malaysia, what university championed responsible business education? We would like to know, because we are from different regions of Asia and Pacific, maybe we could make it as a model for us to emulate. We are not promoting what university, but maybe Dr. Elisa could give example what university really champion on this green business education.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At the moment, I cannot think of any universities in the world out there who are really championing responsible business education. Because what's at stake right now is the narratives is very much contextualized towards capitalism education. So capitalism education surrounds the whole idea of how digital natives are supposed to be equipped with the relevant skills and be able to connect to the world of productivity out there. So we're how much you want to talk about degrowth economy, the green economy is very much centered towards profit motive. And therefore, if we talk about responsible business education, as I showed in my last slide, what we need to do is to be able to understand that there's a paradigm shift that we need to move towards community-based education. Community-based education, therefore, means that we're moving along a platform where humanistic capitalism, there is such thing that exists, and where responsible business education comes in, that is all about connecting to local wisdom. So in every region there is out there, there are certain local wisdoms that we want to partake in, be able to connect any education that's surrounding responsible business education towards what's at stake and is needed in that particular communities actually, and be able to understand that community-based education, it is centered around the needs of the community, which actually owns the economy at hand, and therefore they are the ones who actually nurtures the economy at stake within that community. And the role of business education is actually to learn from them rather than to invest in their learning process. Rather, it's the other way around, is that you actually partake in the needs of each individual communities rather than you decide how the community will grow. Especially when we talk about sustainable cities and communities, a lot of it is actually surrounding around the needs of technology-enabled communities, which means that's where investors come in. Now it's the other way around, because in order for sustainable cities and communities to grow, you need the inclusive society in there, which means everyone has to participate. In this case, no one is participating as much as the investors actually is concerned. So in responsible business education, the mind shift is actually moving towards new paradigm of teaching and learning that's centering around the role of universities, higher education, which actually must take ownership in the learning process. And in other words, the role of capitalism is now very much tailored towards the needs of communities. And that is still, there is a lot more to learn and work with actually.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa. That was our emphasis. So this time, this is not the last. Dr. Diana, why future thinking successful in Brunei?
hope it is successful, but so far, I would say that future studies has been very well received in Brunei. Initially, it would appear to be very wacky. So when Ivana came round, I said, I don't want to hear all this, because we are social scientists. But gradually, it became more accepted. So one point is that we always try, with our policy recommendations, we don't just do futures, we make it grounded with database, evidence-based research. For example, all the master plan, the national youth policy that I gave you, we did not just do futures work on it. We go about it in the social science where something like, it was a statistically representative sample of young people that we did a very big survey on. Basically, we interviewed about 4,000 stakeholders to get the data that we wanted, to do the horizon scanning and environmental scanning that we wanted. And with all that kind of data, you can tell the policymaker that, hey, it's black and white here. You can't ignore it. You know, there is a trend towards long-term unemployment. There is a trend whereby our young people need to be future ready, equipped with STEM, and these are things that cannot be ignored. So that's one. Another, last one then, he's looking at me very angrily. Another one is, I guess you would know that it's not just Brunei. With recession, Brunei in particularly, because of our oil and gas, it has been very difficult to diversify, and it's something that cannot be, ignored anymore. So futures, with its offer of alternative pathways and consideration of, alternative scenarios, becomes more logical, especially when we ground it with evidence-based research. And I guess Brunei being small, maybe in other countries might be difficult. All countries go through change, historically, not just now. It's just become more pronounced because of better media and media technology. Everybody knows what's happening straight away with one click of your finger. But in Brunei, it's so small, something happens like COVID, everybody knows, so it cannot be ignored. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Diana. I see Dr. Zainal in our master's room is ready for the gong. So do we have any time allotted for? No? Okay. So we come to the closing of this enlightening discussion. Thank you so much, resource speaker, for the very interesting conversation. And also, I would like to thank the organizers, especially Dr. Zainal and the UNESCO Chair Secretariat for inviting me as the moderator of this panel team. And also, you audience, thank you so much for listening, and also, again, thank you. We will not stop the work here. It should be continue beyond this day. This is more on futures. This is more on sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freddy Jokanai and all panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be splitting into different plenary tracks to facilitate focused discussions. Please take note of the following tracks. The first one, Academic Track 1, Tam Kang University's Foresight Educational Leadership and Technology Management, is at Cempaka Level 1. Number 2, Academic Track 2, Academia and Industry Roles in Promoting Sustainable Development, a case study on sustainable engineering and the futures, in Berlian Level 2. And academic number 3, Spirituality, Foresight and Public Policy, Sharing of Experiments from Thailand, at the Lima Level 2. And lastly, Workshop Track 4, Foresight Capacity Building for Youth, Bunga Raya Level 1. These sessions will provide an opportunity for in-depth exploration of specific topics related to sustainability and future thinking. After the plenary tracks, we will break for a networking lunch and prayer at 12:35. Please use this time to engage with your fellow attendees and enjoy your meal. We kindly request your timely return to Campo Hall at 2 p.m. for thematic session number 2. Thank you.
Before you go, I just want to take a quick survey. How many of you feel that this room is too cold? Thank you very much. I've been telling the organizer this, they don't believe me. Now you take a vote.
Okay, before you go, and we later have a kind of, what do you call it in Malay, Majak traffic jam. We just realized that room 2 and 3 is the same room. So we just checking. So bear with me for a minute. Before you move, we will let you know which room is Belian room and which room is a different room. There will be people helping you with lost and found, but please wait 1 second before you... Okay.
3, yeah? Room 3 for academic track 3 will be in Delima, D-E-L-I-M-A, Delima room.